Oh my God. Well, crafters, hello. Big D here. And we're on a new time. We're on a new time. And it's good. It just was stuff going on. Oh lordy. Get my little messages out to the crew and then kick this bad boy in the butt. New time, old host. Yes. Yeah, screw you, buddy. But you have sound. Sound is good. So I would have been here earlier. Would have been on time, actually. But Lady D and I had a lovely dinner date, which is part of the reason we have moved to our slightly later time format, is so that we can actually, on Tuesdays, when some of our friends are more available, actually have a social life for a little bit before the show. But unfortunately, it tuckered the little Lady D out. So she's already prepping herself for Betty Bye. But hey, I'm here. How we doing? What's on the bench? Well, let's start there. We're gonna do our good old returning to our basics format. What is on the bench? Well, this bad boy is basically done. This is a Piper Makes 3D printed version of a Storm Surge that I will be using for the tournament that I am playing in on Saturday. If you've been paying attention to my Instagram, I have been in between units working on that because I've been mainly working on finishing up the last bit of that commission for the Sisters of Battle. And with this guy done and a couple more of my crisis suits done, I'm pretty much done with painting Tau for the time being. I have a bunch still unpainted, but it's not Tau that I'm going to be readily using anytime soon. So I might get in and paint them at some point, but they're really not high in the pecking order of what's next on the list. I have been, though, prepping my next build and paint for Age of Sigmar. I am working on the ever so lovely maggot tin of Nurgle. Boy, do I love Nurgle. Nurgle. Gross boys. Age of Sigmar gross boys. I had to play a round of the game just to see how they play. We didn't get to finish the game because of stuff and reasons, but I love how they play. I love how they're, without being tricksy, they're very tricksy. They're very interactive. Things on them change. They do things. They're constantly, I do this, 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 I do this. They're very action heavy. It's a fun army to play. There's a lot going on. I like the Maggotkin. I was not expecting them to be as good as they are, just because, I mean, Chaos does get crapped on a lot, being honest. And actually, they're really good. They're actually a really, really solid army. So I am enjoying them greatly. And because of that, I was borrowing a great unclean one from Quinn at Falklandia Gaming until I can get my own version printed and painted. So once he's fully printed, I'm gonna start using this guy, and this is from Raging Heroes, their Heroes Infinite line, which is their 3D print set. This is Bishop something or other. He is a diseased cure. Their newest set is a plagued city. It's a city of plagues or something. And they're one of my Patreons. Every month they do a different set. Well, this is the one this month, and it's absolutely freaking fabulous. Get this thing trimmed off of here. There we go. All right. It's a nice free sprue. So this is him. That'll be on his throne. He is absolutely disgusting. I love him. But he'll be on that throne, and then it's a shattered bell that actually slips over and top the chair and then gets glued in place. So I'll be able to paint this separately. And I'm going to do a lot of weathering on this because I want to do this army. I want to do this army right. I like these guys a lot. The book, the dice, the cards, and some of the figures were all a Valentine's Day gift from my wife. So the army itself is meaningful to me. But then you add on to the fact that it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous army, and I love it. So those of you that are not in Milwaukee or in the Milwaukee area, it is freaking hot right now. It is like 80 degrees outside. What's the size compared to the regular greater than clean one? I scaled him up because normally he's a normal size dude. I scaled him up so the figure itself, he's actually taller than a great unclean one, but his base will fit on a base of a great unclean one. So he's size-wise, he'll fit right in. It'll be great. But I had to size him up, I think 150%. So, and I don't have the great unclean one within grabbing distance, so I'd show you. Maybe next week when I have my armor nearby, I'll pull it by. Like I said, I did upgrade him. I upsized him in size to 150%. And it's nice because the piece comes in pieces. Each of the tentacles was its own piece. This back piece is actually 3 separate pieces that glue down. And the bottom of the palanquin and the chair are 2 separate pieces as well. So, and I like Heroes Infinite. I'm, again, not sponsored by them or anything, but gosh, I love their work. They're like $13 a month, $16 a month, something like that. They're totally worth it. Every month you get a new themed set. If you do it through their website rather than directly through Patreon, which is what I do, you get some alternate sculpts of some of the models. Some of the dudes and some of the chicks are just really, every month they're like really good. They're like really good looking. A lot of the figures are a little sexier. They're not lewd like some makers, but they're borderline. I mean, everything's covered, but it's a stray necklace or a stray wisp of hair or a stray amulet that's covering the goods in a lot of cases. But they look good. They actually look good on the tabletop. They're high detail. They're beautiful models. Actually, Lady D had me print out. This is one of their priestesses out of the same set this month. And she is a priestess of cleansing that's fighting against this infestation. And we're gonna put her under some light and get her hardened up, and then she's gonna paint her because monthly they do a painting contest, and you get some pretty good prizes out of it. So she's gonna give this guy a shot. Speaking of what she's working on, if you're in the Milwaukee Falklandia Warhammer chat, she put some pictures out there of where she's at with the Bellacore that she's doing as a commission. She's basically finished the base. The base looks outstanding. It's just gorgeous. And now she's focusing on him. So she's hoping to get him done in the next week or so that she can get him before we go out to California. Because what she's being paid for that would be nice to just be able to throw it on one of our credit cards so we have that, just a little extra bit of cushion on there. So, and then she's already got another commission lined up after that, doing some terrain for another person that will remain unnamed. And she's also working on a painting for us. So she's got a lot of stuff on her plate right now as well. Like I said, I'm trying to get this Sisters of Battle done. I'm this close to being done with them. I basically have like 2 or 3 more squads to go, maybe, and then a couple of HQs, and it's just the basic Sisters. So, and they're all half done. I mean, I think they all got their red and their black in place. Now it's just a matter of cleaning up the seams, doing the gold details, getting the skin and the hair done, and they're boom done. So they're really, really close to being done. I'm hoping to get them done after this tournament. So next week, I want to try and get them done before we go out to California. So that does say something. Next week, we'll be on our regular time. Again, Tuesday, Central Standard Time, our new time, 8:30 to 10 o'clock Central Standard Time. But the following week, there will not be a stream because we're going to be in California. Going and seeing my stepdaughter's high school graduation. So that's going to be great. So yeah, that's what's on the bench right now. That's what's going on. What's going on in the great wide world of Warhammer? Oh my goodness. So we had a lot of releases a week ago, and then we had Warhammer Fest, which, oh my goodness, the releases. And wow, I mean, this last 2 weeks of Warhammer has been crazy. So they had pre-released the Leagues of Votann a while back, but they didn't say much about it. And now they did it on the 1st of April. And then the 2nd of April, they confirmed it wasn't a joke. And yeah, now they've released some lore, and they had Warhammer Fest, and wow, there's some crazy stuff going on. So let's just go over Warhammer Fest real quick, day by day. On Wednesday was Warhammer 40K Day. They announced the Chaos Space Marines. They showed the stuff from there, and we've seen the Combat Patrol box. Solid box. Oh my gosh! If you are looking to get into Chaos Marines, that box is solid. Gosh, it's a great box. Yeah, woo, good box. Just great. I mean, great box actually. Got Hellbrute, got a set of 5 Havocs, got a standard 10-man squad, and then a one of their chaplain types, the Lord, whatever they're called. It's a great figure. I love the sculpt on the figure, but they're going to have him, and he's going to have his 2 followers with him, and that's great. They showed off all the new versions of Cultists. So there's going to be new Cultist models that are basically taking the Cultists of the Damned that were in Blackstone Fortress and converting them to a full 10-man kit. And that's going to be the new Cultist model. So the old Cultist models, which aren't that old to begin with, because I think those came out in 7th edition, those are already being retired. They may be available side by side, which is kind of cool, because I actually like the older Cultists as well. I think both types are really cool. They've also got 2 new flavors. They've got Cultists that have been warped into horrible monstrosities, and they got some other stuff. We're using Cultists now in Chaos, which fits the lore. That's what I really like about it. I mean, if you look at the lore, if you read the books, if you go into the fluff of the game, Chaos Space Marines often have large numbers of their Chaos Cultists, their converts that they carry around with them and do things around with them. So the fact that they're actually using them and they're giving them multiple kinds of Cultists and different flavors of Cultists with different abilities, some that have been more warped than others, I love the idea. I love the idea that cultists are going to be a big deal. I was thinking about now. I normally, when I've been putting together my chaos army, when I was thinking about it before, I got stuck with some other stuff. Now, admittedly, I have Death Guard, but I was thinking about doing a mainstream cultist or a mainstream Chaos Space Marine army a while ago. And I actually got Fabius Bile for that reason, because I wanted to do either Emperor's Children or Fabius Bile and the Creations of Bile. And I dig that. And now, now I'm actually thinking about Wordbearers, because Wordbearers in the lore use a truckload of cultists. Like, that's a big thing. They have just piles and piles and piles of cultists in their ranks. So I really like the idea of the Wordbearers. Again, I don't know if they're going to be good. I don't care. I'm not building a Chaos Space Marine army to be cool or good. I'm building them because I like the lore and I love the look of Chaos Space Marines. But again, that's a real far back project. I may not even get to it this year. I probably won't get to it next year either, because I've got a bunch of stuff ahead of them. So it's one of those things that I have a Fabius Bile figure. It'll sit on the shelf. I've got some other Chaos figures that I've acquired over time, and they're going to sit in the pile till I eventually decide to sit down and do that Chaos army. I may build them and just prime them when I've got nothing else to do, but I got so much other stuff ahead of them, I'm not worried about it. So there's that. And then we got the big word that World Eaters will be their own codex, and it is confirmed. And there's going to be new figures in the line, and there's all this hype about it, and they didn't say anything. They refused to say anything. They were like, yes, and we're not going to reveal anything about them. Okay, so, this is my thought on it. Berserkers of Khorne, from at least one of the leaks I've heard, are not in the new Chaos Space Marine book. That doesn't make sense to me, because a lot of different units, a lot of different chapters use them. And I think they'd piss off some of their player base if they actually took them completely out. But I've heard that rumor. I don't know how much stock I put in it. But they got to give Chaos, they got to give the Berserkers, they got to give them new sculpts. Those sculpts are 20 years old. Yes, they're plastic. They're literally as old as the old plastic Guardians, what they just replaced, and as old as the Catachin, which are like 20 plus years old. So those need to be replaced. They gotta get them because they look awful. They really need to replace those models. So since they are traditionally the troop slot within World Eaters, my main Kirch, since they are traditionally the troop slot in a World Eaters army, I'm assuming they're going to get a new model. I'm also assuming, because when they broke the Thousand Suns out and put them in their own codex, they released Magnus the Red. And they followed up and they took the Death Guard and put them in their own codex. And then they released Mortarion. So now they're taking the World Eaters and they're putting in their own codex. We're going to see Angron. We're going to see Angron. Angron is going to make an appearance in 9th edition. He's going to get a figure. And we're going to have 3 Chaos Primarchs. I have no question of this. I have no doubt on this. They did confirm that there will be new sculpts for the Berserkers. That is wonderful. They need them. Because the current sculpts look like little ballerinas with little tiny toy axes. They're terrible compared to what the current models look like. Yeah, I mean, if they don't drop Angron, this is them dropping the ball. This is literally them dropping the freaking ball. They got to bring Angron out. Okay. So that was just Wednesday. That was Wednesday. Oh, and we're getting a new season combat, our every 6-month rule update and match play rules. And we're getting the new one. And I'm excited and terrified at the same time. Does Karn need a new model? I don't know. I actually like Karn's model. I like his model because I know that's already his second model. So, yeah, it's his second model. It's not his original model. It's all plastic right now, and it's newer. It's maybe 5 years old, maybe 6 years old. I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. It's not the old resin one. I have the old resin one in one of my boxes. I actually have it in metal. It's terrible. Oh, looks awful. So yeah, there's that. But our new Match Playbook is coming out, and that's coming out soon. Probably, I'm guessing, since we got the last one in March, I'm guessing we're going to get the new one in July. And that means what? All new missions, all new secondaries. They're changing the game. They did say that the points part of that book, which they have traditionally charged for, is now going to be a free to download PDF. They are listening. They can be taught. I am so proud of GW for realizing people need the points to be able to play the damn game. If they don't give us the points, we're just going to find another way to do it. Thank you, GW, for not being assholes and just giving us the points in a downloadable format. My God, it's not that hard, guys. You want people to play your game, give them something. Jesus. So the new book's going to have new missions. Obviously, they've been looking at how the missions are playing, and again, part of the new mission idea is to make them more balanced, so every army has a better chance at them. They're going to probably change up the secondaries so they work a little differently, so that we don't have the same 3 secondaries being taken by every single army, every single match. It's like there's one everybody takes, there's a second one everyone takes, and the third one, if you're playing against this, you take this one. If you're playing against this, you take this one. If you're playing against, you take this one. And that's basically it. And all the other ones, go the hell away. Nobody pays attention. But they did say all of the secondaries, including the ones that come in the codexes, including the ones in the codexes that haven't come out yet, they're all going to be in that book. So all you will need for match play is that book. You'll have your basic rules, you'll have your missions, you'll have everybody's secondaries, and all the base secondaries. I like this idea. They're also cutting the number of CP approximately in half. I spend 5 CP for my army. If they cut me in half, it means I have 1 CP. I don't like that. But they did say that they were going to increase the number of CP everybody gets every round. So instead of getting 1 per round, it's probably going to be more like Age of Sigmar. So you'll get 1 for this and 1 for that, and then a chance to get a third one or something. So yeah, the current Karn is actually a plastic model, if I remember right. Kirsch, I'm going to give you a mission. Quick, go check GW's site and see if that's true. See if I'm lying to my fan base, because I believe Karn is currently on a plastic kit. If he's not on a plastic kit, then yes, he needs to be put in a plastic kit, point blank. They need to get everybody off of freaking resin and everybody off of metal. Screw that noise. Get it off. Oh, all right. So there's that. Finally, we finished Wednesday. That's a lot. Wednesday was huge. Wednesday was like, this is awesome. And then Thursday came. Now, I haven't talked about it as much on this channel, but I'm very rapidly, and I want to say rapidly, becoming a huge fan of Age of Sigmar. I really, really like playing Age of Sigmar. There are things about it I do not like. Not gonna lie. There are certain armies, certain combos, certain cheesy shitting things you can do, and I gotta curse because there's really no other way to put it. There are some really cheesy shit things you can do with an army in Age of Sigmar that I really dislike. Multi-part plastic model. He is new. So, there are some really shitty things that I don't like about certain armies. And Kirsch knows because he and I talk. Now, those you also don't know, Kirsch and I talk a lot. We talk a lot about because of Tau. We talk a lot about Age of Sigmar. We talk a lot about competitiveness. Mr. Kirschbaum is the guy that runs the Warp Storm tournament. I mean, he's not the only one, but he is like the head, let's get shit done guy for Warp Storm. I'm ostensibly on the committee, so he and I talk a lot. So he has been talking a lot about his Sylvaneth. Well, they're one of the two armies that are getting new shit. So you've got the Sylvaneth and the Skaven. Now, I thought about getting into Skaven, but then I'm like, no. I don't want to get another Chaos Army. I've already got two. I don't need to get a third Chaos Army. I like the Skaven. The Skaven are a link to the old days. They're like the old days. And I love the Skaven because, yes, Skaven. They're so freaking great. I mean, they're just lore-filled and silly and awesome and weird and murderous and just, they're just a great army. But I've already got enough armies that I really love and enough armies that I'm already into. If I get into Skaven, let's do that 5 years down the road after I've got all of my other armies that I want to do built and painted. Because I'm still working on my freaking Ogres that I have half of them half built. And, so yeah, there's that. So the Skaven and the Sylvaneth. Oh yeah, and that's the other thing. I want to play Seraphon. Oh my god. I want to play Seraphon so bad. And I don't want to play them because I know one of the cheesy things they can really do. I want to play them because after playing against two different play styles of them, I realized one of the things that Army does is really super diverse. It can play style in a couple really crazy different ways. And I love it. So I want to play Seraphon. I want to play Seraphon. So I think when I get to another Age of Sigmar army, I want to finish with my Nurgle. I want to finish with my Slaneshis. Slanesh are getting an update in the new White Dwarf coming out next month, and I'm hoping that'll make them good again, because right now they're garbage. They're absolute garbage right now, which breaks my heart because they are probably my favorite army as far as visually. They are my favorite army. So that being said, all right. Sylvaneth getting a new HQ, Queen of Vines, Lady of Vines, Mistress of Vines, something of Vines. Gorgeous looking figure, going to be in that box. The Skaven are getting their assassin or murder something or other. I don't remember the name of the dude, but it's the dude with the dagger that's like one of their really good killy HQs. He is going finally from resin to plastic, and he's going to be in that box. So Sylvaneth and Skaven are going to be in the new box. They revealed those two. They showed off some other stuff. I wasn't able to watch as much of it as I wanted to because, honestly, I saw it was mainly about those two armies, and those aren't really armies I'm looking to play right now. So I was like, and I kind of glossed it over. But they're getting a new General's Handbook. That was one thing I did notice. They're getting a new General's Handbook this summer. They said this summer, new General's Handbook. I'm going to guess also in July. Maybe June. I'd like to be in June. But they're getting a new General's Handbook. They're dealing with some balance issues because they do have some real serious balance issues in the game right now because they only have a couple armies that have their codexes right now. And right now, like the brand new two codexes that are about to come out are the Daughters of Cain and the Night Haunt. Both really two great armies that both Lady D plays. So we got to figure out. She's working on her Daughters of Cain right now. She wants to play them more, so we're going to get that going. A really good army to play against. I played against them with my Maggotkin. So lots of updates coming on there. Friday is their box game update. There's a bunch of stuff for Blood Bowl. I don't know. I want to love Blood Bowl because I loved it so much back in the early 90s. I loved Blood Bowl. I really, really did. And I love playing Blood Bowl on my computer. It's a fun game. I bought an army. I bought a team. I actually bought 2 teams to play Blood Bowl, the new Blood Bowl. And I just can't get motivated to even get it done. And I don't know why. I'm just not motivated to do Blood Bowl. As much as I love the idea of Blood Bowl, it doesn't do anything for me. So, if you like Blood Bowl, have a day. And I hate to say it, I'm feeling the same way about Underworlds. I like Underworlds. I've played it a little bit. I kind of like it. I bought like 2 box sets and a bunch of armies. I probably dropped, like $300-400 on it altogether. I don't know. It didn't grab me and yank me in. It made me, oh, that's fun. That's something to do if I got nothing better to do. I'd rather play an army game and I'd rather play Kill Team, which I haven't got a chance to play. One of the other box games that they made big freaking announcements for. I want to play Kill Team. Oh my God, I need to play Kill Team. I need to learn the rules. I play the new Kill Team. The game, it just looks good. It looks fun. It's like lots of actions and things and stuff and all the blah. It looks great. And the figures and terrain, everything I love about a game. I just haven't had a chance to play it. And I know there's a number of people that play it. And they made the big announcement of the next box set. The next box set is going to be Traitor Guard versus Marines. So the Marines are finally getting their rules. And Traitor Guard, freaking Traitor Guard, which they're porting over the models. Now, that is the one disappointing thing, because the Kill Team box is literally 2 armies with no new figures. Because they're bringing in the infiltrators and it looks like they're using the Push Fit Infiltrators kit that was in the original Shadow Spear box, which is like, okay, it's the original Push Fit box. So they're going to have an add-on sprue, but they're all Push Fit models. Okay, I don't know how that's going to work. We'll see. Although one of the sculpts looked kind of cool. It looked like there was a head, and he's dancing. I mean, it looks like he's like, he's a good-looking figure, but I like Marines, so it's cool. And Traitor Guard. So the Traitor Guard, they're directly importing them from Blackstone Fortress. Now, I was talking about this with other people. Well, back in the day, way years ago, boys, when we would wear onions on our belt because it was in the style at the time, there was Traitor Guard figures, or at least there was a sprue and some stuff you get to turn your guard into Traitor Guard. And there were some rules, I think, out of a White Dwarf that lets you soup in Imperial Guard with Traitor colors into Chaos Space Marine armies. And there was like a sprue and some bits, and that was about it. And these rules. And that was like 25 years ago, and it never got spoke of again. But I remember seeing some really great Traitor Guard. And now they're bringing them back, and they're putting them into Kill Team, which tells me we are going to see Traitor Guard. I don't know what they're cooking up for this Imperial Guard book, but I'm going, oh, crap on a crutch. Death Corps of Krieg, Traitor Guard, Tanith First and Only. This guard book, when it finally comes out, which they haven't even talked about it, when this guard book comes out, this book has got to be, It's literally going to either be the biggest disappointment and everybody's going to set GW on fire, or it's going to be the, oh my God, this is the book we have been waiting for the last 10 years. Because it's going to have everything in it. That book, I am shooketh on how good that book must be if they want to do it right. Cadians, Vestroyans, Catechins, Desert Raiders, Mordians, Kurskins, Death Corps of Krieg, Traitor Guard. Oh my gosh. Superfly! Thank you, sir. Good to see you, sir. We're about halfway through the show. If everybody could do me a big favor, and if I'm entertaining you or you're enjoying what I'm talking about, go ahead and hit that thumbs up, guys. I really appreciate it. If you're not a subscriber, please hit subscribe. If you are a subscriber, ring that bell so you know when I do stuff, because I'm trying to produce more content for you guys. I recently did a piece talking about Imperium Magazine's issues 6 and 7. I'm hoping on Sunday to release issue 8 and the special add-on pack that I got. So if you guys can hit that like button, let me know that I'm doing a good job for you. I want to produce more content for you. We're getting so close to 700. We've been hovering around 10 subs short of 700 for about a month now. It's driving me crazy. I want to break that 700 crest. I look at my buddies down in Texas, Frost and Fist. If you're not a subscriber to Frost and Fist, telling you right now, go down there and subscribe because they're right on the cusp of 1,000. I want to see them succeed. They're such good guys. They really gave me a hand up when I got started doing this. They have been so supportive and so great. A lot of the people that are fans of me here start off as fans of theirs. That they gave me a shot to be on their show and talk with them and talk about stuff. And part of the IDIC beer organization. It's just been amazing. So if you're not a sub, go down there and sub to them. If you are a sub here, ring that bell. If you're not a sub, subscribe, hit that like button. Let everybody know that we're just here to have fun and talk about Warhammer, the hobby. So those box games are going to be just crazy because they also did something that's making me going, I want to play Necromunda. I don't want to play Necromunda. I want to play Necromunda. I can't believe this. I want to play Necromunda. Ash Waste looks amazing. Ash Waste looks absolutely amazing. Hive War, the box set, combined with Ash Waste, is an amazing set. And then they announced the new armies. And I couldn't even pay attention. I couldn't even pay crapping attention to anything else because they announced squats. Not Leagues of Voltan. Frickin' squats. So they did clarify that the Leagues of Voltan are genetically related to the squats, but they're not the same thing. Squats are squats. When everybody went into space, the Leagues of Voltan became their own league and did their thing, and the squats were just the guys that had been genetically altered and got placed on different planets to do mining operations. So they started off, but they diverged over 10,000 years. And the squats are in Necromunda. I want to play squats. And you can play squats in the exo armor. The new sculpts of them are wearing the old 90s exo armor, but done in today's style and today's skill of modeling. The weapons look the same, but updated. The armor looks the same, but updated. They're freaking squats, and they look amazing, and I want to play them, and I want to play Necromunda so I can play squats in exo armor. And because with Hive War, they're adding vehicles. They've got little SUVs and little four-wheelers and bikes that are now part of other gangs. Squat bikes have got to be coming. Now, the Leagues of Voltan, they did on Wednesday show off the new League of Voltan trike. And my God, that is a gorgeous vehicle. Driven by a female squad. It's a hover bike, and it's huge. It's like it looked like it's the size of an orc buggy. It looked amazing, and I loved it. And if they come in squads of 3, I want 9 of them. If they come in squads of 1, I want 3 of them. I want as many as I can stuff. Doesn't matter the list. I'm always going to put a max number in those because they're the best. They look the best. They're awesome. But that being said, Necromunda is putting actual old school squats in the game, and they're adding vehicles. So we're going to see squat bikes. Calling it now, we're going to see squat bikes. Whoever is running their production lines, whoever is in charge of what they're doing right now, has got to be either an old school gamer or obsessed with nostalgia for the 90s. Because over the last 2 years, they have released so much stuff between half the things that showed up in Blackstone Fortress, the Zote that was in Blackstone Fortress, the Zote that showed up for Blood Bowl, the Leagues of Volten, the squats, the fact that Blood Bowl got a full remake and they went back to the old guys and the way they used to look, and the way the game plays is more like first edition, and they completely like bypassed second edition. And so they're doing like the old 90s version of Blood Bowl, which is great. They've brought back so many old style models and so many old style sculpts. They brought the Black Templars in and gave them all new sculpts, but really harkened back to their 90s origin. I mean, there really is this sense of nostalgia, but modernized so that these new players, 25 years later, 30 years later, can use these new models that harken back to the old days and come back. And I'm so excited about this. I'm so excited about this. Because that was what got me into 40K in the initial. I was playing High Elves and Fantasy and then Space Wolves. And then once I got into Space Wolves, I bought Guard and I was into squats and I got Orcs and I got all this. And I was, this is the best. And it was the best. It really was. And they're bringing this all back. And so I can share this love I have it with other people. And it's exciting. And then they hit us with Saturday. I was not prepared for Saturday. That Horace Heresy box set. They redid the Beakies. Now, we had seen they were doing Beakies in the box. We knew they were doing Mark 6 armor suits. We knew they were doing the Mark 6 suits. What you may not know is that if you look at those Beakies and you look at the add-ons on the sprues, and you go back to, I forget the name of the website. There's a website that has all these old 40K models. They're like something awesome or epicness, ancient epicness, something like that. But it talks about old 40K models. They've recreated all the original add-ons for that Beaky box. Now, here's what you understand. That Beaky box predates second edition by about 6 months. I had a copy of that Beaky box. And when they were showing off those sprues, I freaked the hell out because I thought I was looking at the old Beaky box. The chainsaw triangular massive bayonet that goes on the ends of the bolt guns, the missile gun that has the banana clip on top, the on the shoulder las cannon that looks a lot different than it does now, the weapon packs that they got to go on there, they are recognizable, but they are the old style weapons that were in that box. And then you look at these Beakies and go, they're scaled up. So they're not Primera sized, but they are in line with current scale of models. They're much bigger than the old second edition. They're much bigger than the original Beakies. And they're not all in the crazy, because the original Beakies all stood like they were taking a crap. They're all like like this, knees out, and the arms were all like this, and there was only so many ways you could pose them. They're still great. I loved them, but they were kind of a weird looking pose. They all looked like they were knees half bent and half squatting. They're all like, and these guys have all the dynamic poses and all the dynamic movement and all the just the great sculpts that they've come up with over the last 10 years. And really, I mean, honestly, you can say what you want about GW's prices. You can say what you want about their business practice. You can say what you want about their release schedule. You can say what you want about them. But their models are freaking gorgeous. I don't care what you say. Their models are gorgeous. They are alive. They are breathing. They are posed. They are dynamic. They are great freaking models. And for them to take a 30-year-old kit and resculpt it so that it still had everything it had back in the essence of its original sculpts, but all the things they've learned about dynamic model posing and put it in these models. I'm like, this is amazing. This is amazing. And the fact that they have these weapon kit add-ons so that you can buy a box. Now, here's the other thing. Apparently, when you buy a box of models for when you buy a box of the plastic beakies separately from the starter box, it's 20 Marines in that kit. It's not 10, it's 20 Marines in that box. So obviously that's going to be an expensive kit, but it's going to have 20 freaking guys in it. And then you buy add-on boxes, and instead of having like it spent $15 and got 5 plasma guns, they're going to probably have 5 of each or 4 of each, and it'll be like a $30 kit. And they have a heavy weapon kit that's the same kind of deal. And that box is going to be amazing because you're going to have 40 Marines, 2 units of Kafrakti Terminators, so 10 Terminators, a Contemptor Dreadnought, the new Contemptor Dreadnought sculpt. Now, the Contemptor Dreadnought has a current sculpt in plastic, and it's pretty pathetic because it has the Contemptor in a kind of a monopose pose, and it has 2 weapons. It has either the Kara's chain gun or the multi-melta. And apparently this new kit is completely posable. Like, it'll be a completely articulated model, and it's got all the weapon options for both arms. So it's going to be a full, complete, solid kit. I imagine it's going to go up in price. I mean, obviously, it's going to go up in price. But it's a great freaking model. And then it's going to have the Maverick, I think it's called. I don't know. It's a upsized freaking Land Raider. Now, the Land Raider is an iconic model. And this is an upgraded version of it, so it's a bigger one. It holds a bunch more guys. And they're getting that in plastic in this box set. And I'm thinking 40 Marines, 2 HQs, a Dreadnought, and a vehicle. This is going to be like a $500 box. They have said specifically it will be under $300 USD. So I'm guessing it's going to be $295. But still, $295 for all that, which is easily $700 to $800 worth of models. Oh my God, I'm getting one. I want to play Horace Heresy. I am excited. A lot of it, I will admit, is nostalgia because it's old-looking models. That's what I like. I like the older-looking model. It's good models. But they're older-looking models, which I dig. And it's using templates, which I was glad to get away from the templates. It was one of the things that drew me into 8th edition. But there are times I have to honestly admit that some of the movement rules and some of the combat rules in 8th and 9th edition are kind of like, that doesn't mean. And I wouldn't mind going back to templates for certain kinds of weapons. And the idea that this game is going to go back to dealing with weapon templates and armor facing and armor sides and weapons being on a certain firing arc, and that I'm kind of hyped for that. So I'm down. I'm going to be playing Horace Heresy 2.0. I know of at least 4 people that are playing it already. I hear that there are 2 places in town that have a very lively Horus Heresy community. And I think at Factlandia, where I do most of my gaming, if we start having regular Horus Heresy games, we will see more people want to play in Horus Heresy. And yeah, Scatter Dice too. Scatter Dice, I mean, you throw a grenade, it goes boing, boing, boing. Hey, that's cool. Now, admittedly, it's Horus Heresy, so it's Marines and other Imperial armies. There's no Xenos. It's going to be Marines and Knights and Mechanicum and Custodes. And that's it. No Sisters of Battle. No Xenos. I suppose you can play Chaos Demons. But they're going to have their own rules. I'm down. I want to play it. And they're pushing this hard. And the fact they're pushing this hard and the amount of plastic they're doing, because the Demos pattern Rhino, it's the Demos pattern Rhino. The Rhino that most of us know from back in the day is the original Rhino pattern. The one that the Sisters of Battle are actually still using as their current Rhino pattern, that is coming back in plastic. Instead of being in resin, it will be in plastic. I'm hype. Kirsch, if we can make it happen, I'd be down for that. I kind of think I'd be down for that. We got a lot to talk about. Depending on how the next couple months go for the Warp Storm Invitational. So, that being said, yeah, Warhammer Fest was a huge success. I think it was great. I think we got to see a lot of where the company's going. I think those of us old heads, us old grognards, I'm not a grognard because I actually want to see change. I want to see things get updated. So I think it's exciting to see these kind of changes going on, and I'm seeing new stuff. I like Warhammer. I like the company that changes and grows. So let's see that. Now, what does that mean? I think one of the big things that we need to see, with them releasing aggressively new armies, new units, new games, new factions within their games, I think they need to do that data slate for more than just 40K. I think they need to have a dedicated data slate team for Age of Sigmar, because Age of Sigmar needs it. Age of Sigmar has some balance issues. I'm not going to lie. There are some massive, massive balance issues in Age of Sigmar right now. There are armies that can take you off the board and you don't have any say in the matter whatsoever. There are armies that can just generate buckets of mortal wounds and you're not doing anything about it. There are other armies that, because they don't have their codexes, they don't have updates around their stuff, are just left in the dust right now. Or if they're playable, much like Imperial Guard is right now, there's only one way to really play an army. A perfect example is Slaanesh. If you want to play Slaanesh, the only viable list to play Slaanesh, and it's still questionable with them, is to invest heavily in their mortals and just stuff a bunch of their archers and use their archers to pepper all over the army so you can generate enough corruption points so that you can summon demons quicker. Because that is the one thing that they do summon quick. Their summonings are cheap. The way they generate summoning points are cheap. It's easy. It's fast. If you're generating a lot of points, and you can generate a lot of units. I mean, you could honestly generate a lot of units very quickly with a lot of archers, and hopefully use a lot of those armies to over those models to overwhelm your opponent and win the game that way. But that is literally the only way it's viable. If you're not playing with archers, you're dead. You can't get to your opponents because a lot of melee combat is not really great right now. A lot of charging is that you need some range to back up your melee. You can have melee, but you've got to have a bunch of range to back it up. And there's certain armies that are just, they don't care. Stormcast are not real great right now. They really aren't. I mean, unless again you're playing specific means of playing them. Like you can play their dragons, and their dragons are broken apparently. And there are some tournaments that have banned the two big dragons are banned from play because they're so broken. They're just ridiculous. So I don't know. I think they need to do the same thing for Age of Sigmar they did do for 40K. They need to do the balance updates. I don't know the state of the other games because I don't know many people playing them. But I think they would be useful. I think they need to be more dedicated about being open with their player base about what's on. Yeah, you want to have some of a hype train, but you also kind of want to let your players know that, hey, you're being listened to. And I think the data slate does part of that. And I think the General's Handbook in 40K, it's the match play rules. I forget what it's called, but they're doing every 6 months. I think that's good. I think that's a way of looking at your player base. But there is some reality that your turnaround time on that has got to be about 4 months. So you only got about 2 months of data under the old data slate before you're moving. So you're literally reacting to basically not your last update, but the update previous. So the fact that these books are going to be $40 to $50 books every 6 months, I'm not really crazy about that idea either. I think if you bring the book down in price in the recognition that it's a disposable book, in 6 months, it's going to be a not usable book. I think if you recognize that, you make the game more enjoyable and more approachable. I also think that they need to go back and look more at their non-match play modes. Yeah, it's like a $10 on subscription. Yeah. Honestly, I think they need to look at their other play modes. I think they need to look at their open play and their narrative play modes and make sure they're getting that attention too. I heard recently of a deck, the Winds of Change deck or something like that, that they do for 40K. And it basically changes the way you play the game. You set up a ward and you draw these cards out, and it changes. It tells you what kind of mission you're playing, what the setup is, what the conditions in the battlefield are. It's kind of like the old open war cards back in 8th and 7th and 6th. I think that's a great idea. I think they should get those. Maybe look at them as a match play kind of add-on or something. I don't know. They need to do something more with them. Tempest of War deck. That's what they are. Yeah, and Crusade's getting books all the time. But does anybody look at them as anything but, are they looking at them for balance? Or are they just looking at them as pushing a story forward? If they're just producing books to produce books with more missions, then that's Crusade. That's great. But are they actually doing anything for balance? Are they dealing with balance? I mean, even playing in casual games, when you look at some of the channels that are running casual games, you've got the same couple of armies that are just running rampant. And nobody wants that. As a perfect example, looking at competitive game right now. Now, they've dealt with this data slate to deal with the broken part of the Harlequins, and they dealt with the broken part of the Custodes, and they kind of hit the Tau in the gut with the removal of the AP from Montka and completely screwing over indirect fire. Okay, that's true. That's okay. That's true, Kirsch. I can see that. But then the flip side is right now, like the Seattle Open, which was a super major. I mean, we're talking a super major, like 7 rounds, something like 200 players, 7 of the top 10, 5 of the top 5 were Tyranids. Hell, child, my brother, what is going on, my man? I mean, Tyranids just absolutely wreaked havoc this past weekend, on a par with what they had the Harlequins were doing. If you take out their mirror matches that are a 72% win rate, or 73% win rate, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. It's all right. Oh, it's all right there, hell child. Here now, you can hit that thumbs up and let everybody know you're here. I heard a very depressing thing today. One of my favorite guys, one of the guys that has really helped promote our local play group. One of the guys that's really helped promote skill, promote teaching. The guy that basically helped really organize our local area's dojo days to get everybody playing the game more competitively, more skillfully, stop making such simple mistakes, and really up everybody's game. He's a great guy. He made a mention today in the chat that he's kind of burnt out on 40K, not because he's overplayed it, not because he's played too much, not because the game is any of the things you would think of. Oh, I've been playing it so much. I've had to build so many figures. I've had to paint so many figures. Playing the same army over and over and over. And I'm doing the same thing over and over and over. And none of those was reason. My buddy Max said today, the reason he's getting burnt out on 40K and doesn't have a lot of motivation to play it right now is because he wants this game to be a competitive game, an honest and open and equal footing competitive game. And we are just seeing the last year now release of the month breaks the game. Ever since the Drukhari came out, and they absolutely dominated the meta until this past winter. Sisters of Battle came out, and they were really, really good. And basically, them and Drukhari kind of held on the top spots. Other people could compete, but at the top level of the game, it was really the two of them. Then the AdMech came out. Yeah, you look at and you want to go back. You go back. Let's go back to the beginning of it. We'll talk about that. Necrons at launch. Oh my gosh, they were ridiculous. Necrons at launch were absolutely just stupid. They would just destroy every army they were coming against. And then the Marines were really good for a while there. I mean, they were top tier. And then as each of the specialty Marines got their book, The Space Wolves were unstoppable, and the Blood Angels were unstoppable, and every army as they got their book was just incredibly powerful. And as each book came out, everything that came before them kind of started falling off. Everything started falling off behind them. And it became a game of escalation. Who had the newest army? That was who was on top. And you could compete at an RTT level because, not everybody's playing flawless games and flawless lists and flawless armies. And not everybody is a top tier, next level player. We're playing with a bunch of other guys. And so our own foibles. But you look at the tournament scene, and a lot of the top players that were playing the top armies were unstoppable. And you had a couple rare people that could do great things with off armies, but they were considered a shock to the system and an exception to the rule, not common thought. And so you had all these changes, and then you had the sisters come out, and they were really good. And then the Chukari came out, I was like, oh my God. And then the Mechanicus came out, and they were like, oh, thank God, they're just countering everything. And then the Orcs came out, and it's like, oh my gosh, the Orc buggy spam and the Orc plane spam. And then they would be nerfed. The army would be nerfed into worthlessness. And they'd be nerfed into too harsh. And then another army get nerfed. Then a new army comes out. Then the Grey Knights came out, and they were unfreaking stoppable. And the Thousand Suns were really good. And then they had the first change where you couldn't have multiple of the same detachment. Now, you couldn't have like a Space Wolf and a Blood Angel in the same army together. You couldn't mix that way. And so that changed a lot of armies up. You couldn't use a shared book. And that changed things up. But then you had the Tau come out, and they were breaking people. And you had the Custodians come out, and they were breaking people, and then they nerfed them. And they kept breaking them and nerfing them, breaking them and nerfing them, and then nerfing them to high heaven. And then they bring out a new army, and the new army was broken, and then they would nerf that. And this has just been their same thing over and over and over and over and over. And now we're looking at it with the Tyranids, where the Tyranids are just running rampant. They're just way too powerful. And it's very obvious that they need nerfs. But they're coming out the gate broken. And you would think by now they've had 2 years of this. Army comes out, broken, fix it. Army comes out, broken, fix it. You'd think by now the design team would have figured out we can't keep doing this. And then Chaos Knights. I don't know if they're broken right now, but everything I'm seeing on those Chaos Knights are just going to be like, well, Knights are back on the menu, and they're going to do everything they did when they were top dogs in 8th. And they're going to knock people off the board. They're going to wipe people off the board, and they're going to dominate the board, and you're not going to be able to do anything against them. And yes, they got to sell models. I understand they got to sell models. They're a model company that has a set of rules to go with their game. But Max hit it on the head, and it's because of Max hitting on the head that I'm losing Max as a player on my regular gaming group, because their balanced team is brought in 3 months after they've broken the freaking game to fix that, when they've already broken things past what they started off broken. And then when they unbreak them, in some cases they nerf them so hard they're not worth playing anymore, or at least the players don't feel that they're, because they don't play anything like they did when they first started on the new codex. There has to be a happy medium. They have to have more playtesters. They have to have more people playtesting in a more diverse fashion. They can't playtest on playing the army against itself. They have to have people play testing this brand new army against Marines, this brand new army versus Necrons. What does it do? They've got to work out this cycle, because right now, I wish I could say Max is the only person that's saying this. I wish I could say Max is the only one feeling like this. I wish Max wasn't the only one that felt this way. But he isn't. And the more I talk to people, a lot of people are looking at this game like, oh, I just want to play 1,000 points casually with my friends. And so these big events that they were getting people to show up to, they're starting to shrink in numbers, because people are looking at only the broken armies are winning. Casual play is becoming more popular because the match play game is so broken. Is match play going to go away? No, obviously it's not. Obviously it's not. But there was a long discussion this last week in Reddit among a bunch of people that are running tournaments, and they're talking about that they're seeing. They expected after COVID that they would see a jump in numbers, and they did for like the first 6 months. And now they're seeing them at 10% below what they were before COVID, and 20% below what they were seeing before COVID. And there's more events than there were back then. So there's more events and still less and less players. And when you ask competitive people what their problem is, it's because you basically have to run what the meta is right now, or you're not going to place. It doesn't matter what you love. Now, I'm going to be the first to tell you, if you're only playing Warhammer to win, you're playing it wrong. Point blank, if you're only playing to win, you're playing it wrong. But if you're looking to play competitively, honestly competitively, then yeah, you should be playing what's winning. And that is where you get a lack of diversity. Is there a good answer right now? Playtesting. A better playtesting group, a better balanced group, a larger sample of people playtesting the game. So many more people could be involved. But we'll see. The thing is that, you say GW's happy medium, what they use to make dollars. GW puts out a new unit. Broken or not, the unit sells. If GW were to release a new kind of Space Marine that does something different than every other Space Marine currently does, unit would sell. If GW offered a new Eldar unit in plastic as opposed to a replacing an old resin kit, it would sell. If GW put a new Chaos unit on the table, it would sell. They have their audience. They're growing their audience. Their numbers are better than they have ever been. They have broken their sales record every year in a row for the last 4 years now. 4 years in a row, they have continuously not just had their best years ever. They broke their sales record, then they broke it again, and they broke it again, and then they doubled what they were making on this year. The year that they broke their record, as opposed to last year, they doubled their numbers. In 3 years, 100% growth in numbers. That is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So they're not hurting for sales. They're not hurting for numbers. They know if they produce something for their bread and butter, if they produce something for 40K, it will sell. If they produce something 40K adjacent, it will sell. I don't know that many people playing Kill Team, but I'm watching Kill Team boxes go off the shelves because 40K players are buying them. to get that unique unit, to get that unique terrain. We are all plastic addicts, and that's okay. But it is disingenuous to say that 40K is only concerned about selling plastic, and they're not gonna. They can't afford to continue making their numbers and put some balance in the game. If they put balance in, they won't sell units. They will sell whatever the hell they produce. Anything they produce, they will sell. There's no excuse to not balance it. I look at other competitive games, and if they can do it, so can Games Workshop. As a newer player, was this the case in earlier editions? Lots of kill team members. Okay, so Arthur, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna tell you right now. For the first 5 years of this game, Marines ruled this game. I was talking about this earlier. There's a lot of hate. People to this day, it's funny. 25 years later, people are still making fun of the Space Wolves. People still talk shit about the Space Wolves. Wolf, 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 wolf. The space corgis, the space puppies, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of hate for the Space Wolves. A lot of people want to make fun of the Space Wolves and have their reasons, but the honest to goodness reason why the Space Wolves started getting this hate was because back in the day, Space Wolves ruled the roost. The game was very much different then, but when you had a named character, when you had a HQ character, they were attached units. And you couldn't kill them until you got rid of the rest of the unit. Because that HQ could make that unit stay and come back and do this. The Wolves were the exception. The Wolves could purposely go to a unit, find the HQ, and kill him first. They could hunt down heroes and kill them. It's one of the things they could do. They could, because of their crazy, maniacal way of fighting, they could force armies to break. And the Space Wolves, when they would have their break, you would roll a second set of dice. And instead of breaking and running off the board like they used to, they didn't used to have just pick the figures up. You would turn the unit away from whatever enemy it was and start running them off the board. There was a die roll with the Wolves, and you would roll scatter dice, and the Wolves would literally rush at whichever unit was closest on that scatter die, and they would fight until they made a roll where they got themselves back in control. So you would run a unit. One of the big things you do back in the day is you would drop a drop pod with Ragnar and a set, and you attach him and his two wolves, because he used to come with two wolves, to a group of blood claws, and you would run them into the middle of your enemy's army all by themselves. They lose a couple blood claws. The blood claws would freak out, go into berserker mode, and they would just randomly start attacking. And when they're attacking, you didn't have to do anything. You just roll, let them keep attacking. And they would just wreak havoc with armies, because they would cause other armies to freak out and have losses in morale and run and just, the Space Wolves are attacking us. The Space Wolves were absolute monsters on the battlefield. The only army that hung with them was the Orcs for a long time. But you had to get the Orcs to the combat, because the Orcs had unreliable vehicles. They could flip over and break at the drop of a hat. And if you had a vehicle flip over and roll, everybody in it died. There wasn't no, everybody died. So the Wolves got a lot of hate because the Marines were just, the Marines were the best army, and the Wolves were ungodly to other armies. And then you had the Eldar come in, and then the Eldar became this ungodly, indirect fire direct fire, don't care about your armor save army that just. And then the Drukhari, the Dark Eldar, did the same kind of thing, but in a different way. And armies would show dominance. Not going to say they didn't have that problem. There's always a balance issue in 40K. But most of the time, once you got into the 90s, once you got out of the 90s, once you got into the late 90s, early 2000s, it was more of a balancing act. There was always a rock, paper, scissors going on. Just some rocks were bigger than the paper you could try and cover them with. And if you could get over all the rock, they could punch through it and still win a game. They would always still beat scissors, but there was kind of counters. Seventh edition, I know for a fact, Tau broke that. There was a new way to play Tau where the Triptide came from. There was this triple Riptide thing, became known as the Fish of Fury, and it was very similar to how Monka is now, but it involved triple Riptides, and they would just shoot an army off the table before anybody had a chance to move. And they were broken. And that is why the reason the Tower still people get about Tau, because that was how the Tau played. And then in 8th, Knights came out, and everybody was still the Tau and the Eldar. Tau and the Eldar. Knights came out and went, hi, we win. And they did. For about 6 months, nobody could fight against it. I mean, Tau and Eldar were the only ones that could potentially fight against them. But the reality was the Knights were winning the games until they got nerfed. And then when they got nerfed into the ground. And that's when we really saw the up and down. They're really powerful, they get nerfed into the ground. They get really powerful, they get nerfed into the ground. And when that happened, they nerfed the Eldar army that was breaking everybody, which is the Ynnari army. They nerfed that into just not good. And then they nerfed the Knights like the previous issue or the following issue, a White Dwarf, and just completely crushed them. And that's basically it. I mean, they've always had balance issues. But we have never seen, as far as I know, and I'm willing to admit I'm wrong if I'm wrong, but we have never seen it to the point where every army, as it comes out, tops a 70% win rate for a couple weeks. Couple months until a counter comes up for them or they're nerfed. And that's where the state of the game is right now. There is no countering a new army. There is a nerfing of a new army, and that's what you got to wait on. And that's where we're at right now. So it's never been this bad. It's been bad, but it's never been this bad. And that's why there's a lot of people that are just, I just want to play casually. I'm going to admit. One of the reasons as much as I love my Space Wolves, and everybody who knows me knows, I love my wolves. They are my first love in the game. I was reminded very recently why I'm not playing them right now. I'm kind of tired of putting out my army and building a list and putting out a really good army, and then we're in round 2 and I've got 3 figures up on the table. That's not fun. Even if you're playing in a tournament-wise, that's not fun. It rewards meta chasers. It doesn't reward faction loyalty. It is a big reason why I want to play 30K. 30K is fairly balanced. It's fairly balanced because a lot of the armies are very similar. They have differences, but they're basically all mainly in the same vein. So they're fairly balanced. Loyalty is its own reward. You know, Kirsch, you are the only man I know that I can say that really applies to. Because you were a man that was playing Tau in the depths of ninth when they were garbage. And you were still playing them every week. And I credit you for that. I really do. But as somebody whose first love to the game is Space Wolves, and whose second love to the game is Death Guard, and watching my two favorite armies be absolute garbage right now. And then I go, well, let me go get my Imperial Guard. They're not good right now. Hey, my orcs are finally back. No, he got nerfed. And the version of the orcs I want to play aren't really good. Skynox, you're absolutely right. And you're absolutely right there, Skynox. Generally speaking, really experienced players that are good with their army, a great player with a mid-tier army, will beat a good player with a top-tier army every single time. Every single time they will beat them. I just have to look at the open where the guy from Art of War 40K, during the depths of Tau's terrible time in 9th edition, walked into a tournament and came in 4th in a GT with Tau during the height of Drukhari. He beat 3 Drukhari players, just beat them down when Tau were terrible. He tore 3 Drukhari players out of the sky. Bravo. A great player with a mid-tier army will always beat an average or good player with a top-tier army because he knows his army better. There are things I know about my wolves that I still can pull tricks on people. And when I still do them, even if I'm losing the game, I'll pull that trick out and then people are like, oh, shit, forgot about that. I was playing against I pulled them out recently, and I played a really, really hard list against a Grey Knights player. And when I threw a 5-man unit at a squad and threw 21 attacks at him, he was like, what in the hell? Couldn't believe that I could throw that many attacks. Thank you, my friend Commodore. Yeah. Well, and you see that, but like I said, when I look at the numbers, I'm actually looking at Warhammer 40K. I'm looking at the competitive scene, and I'm looking at the bigger events where you're seeing more units and you're seeing how they're performing. And yes, you are, sir. I salute you. You can math hammer it out too, and that's part of the problem. Is that I figured out how to beat Armor Contempt. I personally figured out how to beat Armor Contempt, and once I figured out the one weakness of Armor Contempt, I have a lot more confidence going into this coming up weekend where I'm playing my Tau. And I'm really excited to play my Tau, and I'm really excited to play this tournament. And if I win, if I place, I'm excited. If I don't, I'm still excited because I'm going to get to play a competitive game for 3 games and play an entire day. What is the weakness of Armor of Contempt? Armor of Contempt gets rid of 1 point of armor piercing. But that's all it does. So against a lot of AP weapons, that's good. That means you still got your 3-up save. That means if I successfully wound you, you still have a 33% chance of failing that save. How do I beat 33%? How do I beat 66%? By hitting that unit with an absolute truckload of shots. Weight of shots, weight of dice. Something that people who are complaining about Horde armies not doing really well right now, Horde armies aren't doing really well. Nobody's playing a real Horde army. Nobody's playing a real Horde army right now because a real Horde army beats Armor of Contempt by throwing a bucket of dice at a problem. Tau, on a whole, don't throw buckets of dice. They throw handfuls of very accurate, very damaging, very powerful, get out of my face attacks. But they have the potential to throw buckets. It's a design philosophy. And I realized that the reason that the Tau indirect fire was so successful was not because of how much AP those attacks had. It was because my 3 guys firing at their grenade launchers at a unit are firing 6d6 attacks at a unit of 5 guys. I'm only hitting with 50% of them, but you're only saving against 30% of them. You're saving 40% of them. If I throw 50 attacks at you and I wound with 60% of them, that means I'm wounding you with 30 attacks. If you're saving against 2/3 of them, you're still taking 10 attacks. 10 attacks gets rid of most units. So that's what I'm doing with my Tau. My Tau, my new list, the one I'm running this weekend, is based on one simple concept. How many actual dice can I chuck at a unit before I completely negate its ability to be a unit? That's a really powerful unit you have there. Really strong, really high armor. Okay, I'm going to throw my good weapons at that. That bucket of objective holders, I'm going to throw a bucket of dice at you. I did show the Narwhal, but I'll show it again just because Mr. Kirschbaum was not here for it. This thing throws a really powerful gun worth of attacks. The main gun does 3d3 attacks at strength 10 at 72 inches of range, which is great. But you see those little dots? Those little dots represent, I think, 36 shots. This thing throws 36 shots. These mistless dots represent 36 more shots. These 2 up here represent 2d6 plus 4. Necrons. I've been looking at Necrons. I think if you went away from the standard philosophy of Necrons and you walked out there with maximum size Necron warrior squads and threw 5 or 6 of them out there, which is still really cheap, and put rerollers in there. Zane, you stop. Watch out, Zane. Yeah. That's the whole thing. I mean, what do Necrons do? They've got a lot of really good units, a lot of very different units. I honestly think if I would ever to play Necrons right now, they've got good shooting. They got strong guns and good shooting. They got cheap troops. I think I'd want to try like a 20-man squad of warriors. I think I'd try 6 of them. Fill a battalion, 6 freaking squads of them. Put them on the table and just let them volley fire things out of existence. Yeah, and then get some Scorpec big guns, the ones that could just absolutely pound things to death, and back them up with that. And then the heavy locust blade. Exactly. It's exactly what I'm thinking. Just put an absolute mob of dudes on the ground so they just keep regenerating, and then just pound gigantic guns behind them and just play that version of the game. I think that becomes a more viable option. And I think that's the way Marines kind of got to look at playing now, too. I'm going to be honest with you, Commodore. Their super doctrine kind of sucks. But in the idea of maximum firepower, maximum shots, how many shots can I put down range? How many shots can I put on target? How many can I hit with and force you to armor save? There's a part of me that's theory crafting on how to do that for Marines. How do I put the maximum, not bodies? Putting resilient bodies is really great. Exactly. What is the maximum number of shots that I can traverse across the board to just put maximum shots? The Imperial Guard has a tank that if I don't move, that tank puts 40 shots downrange in one turn. Do the Marines have anything like that? How many shots can it put downrange with their bolter drill, with their exploding 6s? Again, weight of dice. Can I make my 6s explode? Can I make them explode doubly? Can I make my explosions auto wound? What can I stack up? With the fists having their bolter drill, I think this is a meta where they could come back, but they got to play different than every other Marine normally is used to playing. Marines are used to being aggressive, getting your face, punch, take an objective. No. Play Marines as we're going to sit back here and we're just going to carpet nuke you with shots, and we're going to win on dice shots. Yeah. Honestly, it made me rethink. I was thinking about this at the same time with a buddy of mine that wants to play Tau. I got him his old. I've shown you seen this, the old Tau army that I was borrowing. He's actually back in the game. So my buddy, who was playing 20 years ago, I've convinced him, and he's finally come back to the game. But he wants to play Tau very differently, and he actually might succeed with what he wants to do, because he wants to put 6 squads of fire warriors, not breachers, fire warriors on the table with cadre leaders giving them their rerolls and just carpet shoot 40, 60, 80 shots from these cheap units at everything they see. If you come in range, you're going to get hit with just everything. How many times do you have to hit you before that unit's gone? Can you win with absolute pure just firepower? If you come near me, I'm going to gun you down with everything I have. If you get on that objective, I'm going to put 100 shots into you. If you get on that objective, I'm going to put 70 strength 5 shots into you. I'm just going to keep putting buckets of rounds at you. Yeah. Would it work at a GT? Probably not. But an RTT, I'll be testing it this weekend. I'll be testing it this weekend. I have a 5-man squad of crisis suits that'll be pumping 75 shots around into a target on 3s. 75 shots out of a 5-man unit that has a 10-inch move and can advance for free with no penalty. So, it'll be interesting to see. I look forward to testing it out. I look forward to theory crafting it in game, and I look forward to the first person in a tournament that sees it. I know my buddy Art, who's here in channel, has already seen it once, and the first time I fired it, I only had 3 guys, and I said, "Okay, we're firing this many shots," and he just picked up his unit and put it off the table. He didn't even bother with the rolling. He's like, "Nope, they're done." If I put 75 shots into a bunch of troops at point blank range, are you going to bother even rolling with all those dice? I'm going to bet you're not. You're going to be like, okay, we're cool. Speed up the game. Get rid of everybody. Kill them all. Let the TO figure it out. All right, my guys. It is after 10 o'clock. We are 20 minutes over. I want to thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. This has been a great, really great talk. I love that we're having a conversation. This is the big thing. The reason I do these live streams is that I want to have this conversation. I want to talk to people that are playing the game, they're enjoying the game, they're living the game, and get their inputs. Let me throw my ideas at them. Let them throw their ideas back at me. Let's talk about that. Talk about this game we love and see what we can all see to get it fixed. If you have anything else you want to talk about, please be sure to put comments in the archive. If you're in the archive and you're seeing this, go ahead and put comments. I still read them. I read each and every single comment. And if I can, if I have a comment to them, I'll reply to them. And I will address them the next time, the next episode when I see them. So that being said, give me a like, give me a subscribe, ring that bell. And remember, before you do anything else, love the game you're playing. It's a fun game. I love 40K. Enjoy the game. Play it. Have fun with it. That being said, we are done. We're having a good night here. And I want all of you, keep it epic and game on.